Probe microphone, or real ear measurement, is a procedure that is used for programming hearing aids. To do this, two computers are used, one for programming the hearing aid and the other for measuring the hearing aid. Before the hearing aid fitting, both computers need to be prepared for the procedure. To get the probe microphone machine ready, the patient's hearing test is keyed into the computer and the computer develops a curve called a prescriptive target. The curve is a dotted line. This target represents what needs to come out of the hearing aid to correct the hearing loss across the frequencies. We get the second computer that is going to program the hearing aid ready by entering the patient's pertinent information, such as their name, birth date, and the result of their hearing test. Each hearing aid manufacturer has its own software that is used to program their hearing aids. Next, the hearing aids are then connected to the computer. A tiny tube from the real ear machine is placed in the patient's ear. This tube is connected to a microphone, which allows what the hearing aid is delivering to the ear to be measured. The hearing aid is inserted on top of the tiny tube, and a small speaker is placed about 10 inches from the ear in the hearing aid. The speaker delivers the sound that is used in measuring the hearing aids. We measure each ear separately and begin by turning on the sound of the speaker. A line will appear once we start measuring. This represents what is being delivered to the ear by the hearing aid and is a solid line. The software of each hearing aid manufacturer calculates what is needed to correct the patient's hearing loss. This calculation is based on an algorithm that they have developed. However, what initially comes out of the hearing aid, or what we call the first fit, is rarely what is needed by the patient. Each ear canal has its own acoustic environment. The canal has its own size or volume, physical properties such as skin, bone, fat, and cartilage can be different as well. Our goal is to program the hearing aid, which is the solid line, to match the dotted line, which is the prescriptive target. Again, this prescriptive target represents what needs to come out of the hearing aid in order to correct the hearing loss. This is very important because different letters of the alphabet are at different frequencies. We want each letter to be the same loudness so that speech doesn't have some letters louder than others. Once we meet the prescriptive target, we have achieved the proper shape. For new users, we will often reduce the overall volume softer to a 70 or 80% correction, and then slowly increase the volume as the patient adjusts to the new loudness. We can also do a little subjective fine-tuning around our prescriptive target for the patient preferences. When probe microphone or real ear measurements are used, we are not guessing at what the patient needs, we are measuring what the patient needs. This assures a much better outcome for the patient in the performance of the hearing aids and in their daily lives.
My name is Caitlin Lay. I was born and raised in Silver Spring, Maryland. I went to school in Montgomery County and I did my undergrad and doctorate degree at the University of Maryland. I was diagnosed with hearing loss when I was in kindergarten and I was fit with my first set of hearing aids in second grade. Real ear measurement is a way for an audiologist to verify the output of the hearing aid in the person's ear canal to ensure that the hearing aid programming is going to be appropriate given their individual ear canal differences. So ear canal volume, ear canal resonance peaks, things like that. Through my experience here at the University of Maryland and in all of my clinical rotations between, I was able to try a number of different real ear equipment, and I believe that the Phi is the best measurement system. The system is very easy to read, so I'm able to explain to my patient what I'm measuring and they're able to follow along as I'm making those measurements. And I believe that the curves that they're providing, the output that it shows, is a very reliable measurement compared to some other systems that I've found. The reason why we do real ear measurements is because otherwise there's no way to really know what the hearing aid is providing to the patient. All of these programming softwares have the ability for you to put in the audiogram and it'll program the hearing aids for you using an average adult ear canal. So what we'll find is that the hearing aids have been programmed, but the programming isn't shaped to that patient's hearing loss. And so maybe it's not getting enough amplification in the mid-frequency region, so patients feel like they're not hearing the communication partner's voices as much, or maybe the hearing aids will underfit in the high frequency region. So the patient can tell that they're hearing better, but they're not getting the clarity that they expected. So that's where the value of having real ear measurements come in, is that we're able to ensure that the patients are getting appropriate amplification given the frequency ranges where they have hearing loss and the frequency ranges where they have more hearing loss.
My name is Judy. Is that I am retired. Is approximately 2 years ago. Is that I noticed one morning upon rising is that I had tinnitus. I immediately made an appointment with an ENT, a local ENT, who did a hearing test. And I had, they found just a high frequency hearing loss. And so that began kind of an odyssey of going to various audiologists, doctors, all kinds of testing. When I came to Dr. Lynn, is one of the first things she did was ear measurements. I've never, in all the doctors that I've seen, all the audiologists I've seen, I had never had that done before. It's a very painless process. But I can remember the first time that I saw Dr. Lynn. She did the ear measurements, and she did whatever she does with her ear measurements and with her machines, is that it alleviated the tinnitus for the rest of the day. And since that time is that there have been, there's usually 2 or 3 days each week where the tinnitus just disappears. I literally can be in a room with no sound and there is no tinnitus. I attribute the progress that I've made to what Dr. Lynn does in terms of the ear measurements. And it's the first, I've never been to an office. This is the only place that I've been where anything like this has been done. There's been nothing that even approaches it.
My name is Don Spiro. I live in Bethesda, Maryland. I've been using hearing aids for 8 years and tried lots of different ones. I've used 4 different manufacturers over the years and graduated from one to another, and for other reasons I've ended up in one audiology practice or another depending on what they dispense and what they support. I had never even heard of this. And when Dr. Lynn said, now I'm going to use this instrument to make those hearing aids better, I figured, well, what kind of magic is this? And I saw what happened. She put the microphones in the ears, so they were picking up, same thing as the eardrums or whatever, and then I could see the frequency response curve that the hearing aids were providing, which was small, and I could see what the goal was, which would be excellent hearing for someone. And she played with it and went beep, 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 and the green line moved around. And when she was finished, it was a very good match. The basic experience is that the current product that I'm using, which is one of the 4 that I used before and initially didn't find it terribly good. It was okay, but not great. It's moved to being excellent. Find a good audiologist. Now, and hopefully they can find someone who uses real ear measurement, although from what I learned here, that's not in wide use in the profession, but it should be. It needs to be. I think that without the real ear measurements, in the hands of a good audiologist, a trained audiologist, people who are having problems are going to just kind of suffer with them.
So I'm Jill McCrory. I am a local pastor here in Maryland, and I also am a public speaker. I do leadership training and strategic planning. As a pastor and a public speaker, I was in situations where I would ask people to talk to me in a setting, usually a large room, and I found that I couldn't hear what people were saying. I went to an audiologist and they said I needed hearing aids, and I got hearing aids, and I just struggled to hear. So I would use my app on my phone to turn my hearing aids up and up and up, and it was always just, I was like, I can't have these hearing aids like this loud all the time, something must be wrong. So I went back and there wasn't really much, I didn't get much solution. So the process of the measuring was really fascinating. At first, I had no idea what they were doing, but they'd explained it and it made a lot of sense. And I watched it I watched the screen as they were making the adjustments, and it just made a lot of sense. And I asked the doctor, well, I mean, why wouldn't someone else have done this? And so to me, it makes so much sense if you have the opportunity to change if I didn't have those measurements, I'd still be struggling to hear. So it was miraculous when, by pushing some buttons, the doctor was able to make my hearing aids actually work for me.
Well, my name's Mitchell Dunn, and I'm an internist in Washington, D.C. I've been there for 35 years, and I practice general internal medicine. The real ear measurement technology I was unfamiliar with. I wasn't really expecting it when I came in. It's fairly unobtrusive. I mean, she just puts a monitor in the ear with the hearing aids, and it was surprising what she could do with the hearing aids that I had. I mean, they had been adjusted, and I just wasn't getting much out of them. After they were tuned up and adjusted this way, it was like night and day. It's like I had brand new hearing aids. It was quite a big difference. Since I've had the real ear measurements, I think I've gotten the most out of the hearing aids I have. I moved on to new hearing aids after a period of time. As a physician, I really have to have 2 functioning sets of hearing aids at all times. I can't have them go down. If my hearing aids go down, I'm actually unable to do my job. So I've worked with Potomac Audiology over the past few years to get the most out of the hearing aids I have. That means, for me, using new electronic stethoscopes, working to get adjustments in my hearing aids so that I can use those. Some of them I had to take my hearing aids out to use, which were very inconvenient. Now I leave my hearing aids in and can use electronic stethoscopes to the full advantage that they offer. So, I've worked with Gail over the past few years to, adapt so that I can do my job to the best of my ability, and it's really made a huge difference.
My name is Heidi Crabtree. I am 51 years old. I lost my hearing when I was about 3 or 4 years old. I had a cholesteatoma in both ears from frequent ear infections that were not followed up on properly. My hearing loss wasn't diagnosed for a long time because the audiologist that gave me my hearing test would give me the hairy eyeball every time I missed a beep on my audiogram. So I would just wait for the eyebrow to twitch, and then I'd push the button and that was fine. So by the time I got to 3rd grade, they thought I was autistic. When it turned out that I was not autistic, I was actually quite bright, I just couldn't hear. So I got through elementary school. It wasn't until I was 16 that I was able to articulate for myself that I really wanted a hearing aid. But without the technology, the hearing aids that I had were like 50% of what I needed. And I found myself popping the doors on the hearing aids just to turn them off because they were amplifying too much of the bad noise in the noisy situations. The real ear measurement process for me was pretty easy. I was so eager to have it done because it looks so fabulous on the internet. We can't trust the internet. So when it came in here, it was super simple. It was a matter of putting the hearing aids in my ear, and then with the hearing aids, there was a little wire, it didn't hurt at all, that went into the ear canal with my hearing aids. And they have this speaker about this big, and it positioned it here, and it gives these like weird buzzes. And it's all across all the frequencies. frequencies, and what it's actually measuring is what the hearing aids are producing in my ear. So you were able to see the hearing aid software, you know, that says based on this audiogram, we recommend that you get this level of service. With the real ear measurements, they actually say, well, yeah, but we need a lot more on this frequency and a lot less on this frequency, and really adjust it to be exactly what I needed to hear normally. My experience since I've gotten the real ear measurements has been just a series of awakenings. With people, I didn't realize how much I wanted to be part of people. I can go to a family dinner and hear what they're saying. I also really appreciate that I'm on topic. And I find that since I've had the real ear measurements, I am much more an advocate for myself and for other people about hearing. I can spot it in others when they can't hear. But I am so relieved for myself. I don't have to be embarrassed because my interactions with people are on topic. I'm not the person that just sits there at the table with these random injects that are not quite on the topic anymore. I'm like on topic. And it's so rewarding to be able to discuss and participate. It makes me very angry that this technology has been around for decades and I never heard about it. I never had an opportunity to participate in it. And my life, since I had the real ear measurements in June, has been so transformed. I look forward to going out and meeting people and talking to people. The difference in real ear measurements is I could have gone to the audiologist that I've been seeing for the last 20 years, and I could have put another $6,000 on the table and bought the exact same hearing aids that I'm wearing now, but they wouldn't have been programmed to help me participate in life without the real ear measurements. And they could have been at least 50% off of what my audiogram said I needed. And without the audiologists that have the understanding of what you can do with accessories, partner mics, Roger Ons, or a TV streamer to help you participate and access very common day-to-day interactions with technology when in a noisy situation, you're just wasting your money. And you're getting a so-so product. It's no wonder that a lot of people don't like hearing aids because they are just kind of half-baked when they're not programmed right. Since I got the real ear measurements and I got the new hearing aids and accessories to make them work, I feel like I've really become a hearing advocate. I know that here I am at 51 and I'm just finding out I'm an extrovert and that I can actually connect with people. My life would have been so different. And my opportunities in life would have been so different if I could have participated by being able to hear them. There's no sense in buying a sports car if you never get out of second gear. It's the same thing. And unless you have the real ear measurements, you're just not taking advantage of the capabilities of the hearing aid you're buying.